everybody! This is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR and racing podcast. NASCAR would be scoot boogieing on to Nashville this weekend. All three series would be ready to put on a show underneath the neon lights. Trucks would start things off on Friday after NASCAR threw the clock at them last weekend in Charlotte. They look to go the full distance. O'Reilly on Saturday. Kyle Larson jumps down into the 88 car for JRM in this one. Can the full-time O'Reilly drivers keep him at bay? Then for a Sunday night showdown underneath the lights in Nashville. Ryan Blaney got it done last year. Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, and Chase Elliott will be looking to give it their all. Recap of all three of those races. Yellow flag, green flag, discussions with Dave, paint scheme of the week, NASCAR history time, exclusive Splash of Gas interview with Cup Series driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr., plus so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. So much action to go over this week. Have 2 episodes. In the second episode, we'll have predictions and drivers to look out for in Michigan for ARCA, Trucks, and Cup Series. Fast Davies bets, tire diaries, an interview with driver Leland Honeyman. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at disneydavw@verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the Truck Series recap. Truck Series will be ready to go on Friday. They would get some of their practice in, but qualifying would get stopped halfway through and canceled due to rain. After winning the weekend before, Lane Riggs brings the field to green alongside Caden Honeycutt. Stage 1 stays completely green as Riggs goes to the lead early. By lap 30, he would have extended his lead on Honeycutt by over 3 seconds. Lane Riggs cruises to the Stage 1 win. Same pair again restarts for the middle stage, but they don't even make it a lap as the first yellow for incident flies as Tyler Reif hits the wall. After 3 more yellows in the stage, Riggs and Christian Eckes restart with 10 laps to go in the second stage. Lane, like he'd been on all those restarts, keeps it up front and wins the middle stage. Most trucks pit during the stage break, but some stay out for track position. Raja Carruth and Ross Chastain restart for the final stage. Lane makes a surge from the second row, but he gets shuffled into traffic and all of a sudden falls to 12th. Can he make his way back up? Raja Carruth now leads. After 2 yellows, first for a stopped Caden Honeycutt after he lost power, then second for debris, Carruth and Ross Chastain restart with 15 laps to go. Raja goes to the front again. Chandler Smith to second. 7 to go. Lane Riggs is up to third. Can he catch Smith and Carruth? 2 to go. Lane passes his teammate Chandler Smith for second. Final lap. Pass for the lead. Riggs passes Raja Carruth in turns 1 and 2 and doesn't look back. Lane Riggs hoists the guitar in Nashville on Friday night. Such an exciting finish in that one. Now for the O'Reilly Series recap. Just like the trucks, O'Reilly would get their qualifying canceled as well. Jesse Love and Austin Hill start on the front row Saturday night. Jesse clears Hill and leads. Just like we saw with Riggs in the Truck Series race on Friday night, Love gets out to a several second lead. Corey Day eventually gets up to second, and Stage 1 would be won by Jesse Love. Love and Justin Allgaier restart for Stage 2. The two would battle it out for the entire stage as it stays green, changing the lead 3 times. Allgaier gets the last laugh in the middle stage, and Justin Allgaier wins Stage 2. Jesse Love and Carson Quapple restart for the third and final stage. Love again clears and leads. Brett cruised to second, and laps later, cruised past his Love for the lead. A lap later, Jesse Love pits, but an issue on pit road causes over a 30-second pit stop for Jesse. Lap 151, after the final pit stops, Cruz would cycle back to the lead, with Allgaier following. With 19 laps to go, Justin Allgaier would get to the bumper of Cruz. After 7 long laps of battling, going back and forth, Justin Allgaier would clear Brett Cruz with 15 laps to go. Rest of the race stays green and is won by Justin Allgaier. Now for the Cup Series recap. Just like the trucks and O'Reilly, Cup Series would also get their qualifying rained out. Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick bring the field to green. A rare mental error for Denny Hamlin at the start of the race. He restarts too early and is given a penalty. Reddick takes the lead. Planned competition caution on lap 36. Most take 4 tires. Some take 2 tires for track position. Shane Van Gisbergen and Joey Logano restart. Shane clears, but laps later, Kyle Larson battles him for the lead. Larson and Christopher Bell get past Shane. Larson leads, but is challenged by Bell for several laps. After 2 yellows for brake failures for Trackhouse teammates of Ross Chastain and Connor Zilisch, Ryan Blaney and AJ Allmendinger restart with 1 lap to go in stage 1. In a very exciting finish of the first stage between AJ, Blaney, and Larson, Allmendinger surges back to the lead and edges out Kyle Larson. AJ takes stage 1. Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney restart for stage 2. Larson clears but is reeled in by Chase Briscoe, who passes him on lap 128. Next pit cycle starts, and then yellows fly as Austin Dillon goes spinning. Blaney and Chase Elliott restart. 21 laps later, another yellow, this time as AJ Allmendinger hits the wall with a brake rotor failure after running third. Daniel Suarez and Alex Bowman restart with 3 laps to go in stage 2. Suarez clears. 2 laps later, Todd Gilliland spins, collecting Corey Heim and Cole Custer. Daniel Suarez wins stage 2. After making up track position after his lap 1 penalty, Denny Hamlin is now alongside Michael McDowell to restart the third and final stage in Nashville. After 3 quick yellows, Hamlin and Elliott restart with 79 laps to go. Denny leads up until 43 to go, where he gets passed by Chase Briscoe, but Hamlin pits a lap later. Zane Smith and the 38 team would be trying to save enough fuel as the race was in a long green flag run. Smith leads with Christopher Bell up to second. Would Zane have enough fuel? We wouldn't find out. As Bell was working his way trying to pass Zane, Chris Buescher would hit the wall with 12 laps to go. Another yellow comes out. Bell and Briscoe on the front row with Hamlin behind them, and they go back to green with 3 laps to go. Who would be ready to take the guitar Sunday night for the Cup Series? Bell clears for the lead, but is challenged by Hamlin and Briscoe. Final lap, Briscoe makes it 3 wide. Hamlin clears on the backstretch and is able to stay in front of his teammates, Bell and Briscoe. Some of the field wreck behind them, coming to the checkered flag. Denny Hamlin is victorious in Nashville. Christopher Bell second, Chase Briscoe third, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in fourth. Now for trivia question time. This episode's question is, we just saw Denny Hamlin win a very exciting battle in the Cup Series in Nashville. But who won the first time the Cup Series raced at Nashville Superspeedway in 2021? Answer coming at the end. Now, a quick look back at the predictions we made for Nashville. Trucks went with Jesse Love. His night ends early and finishes 34th. O'Reilly, I tapped Kyle Larson. He is beat by his JRM teammate, Justin Allgaier, and Larson finishes 8th. Cup, I went with Blaney. He finishes 8th as well. Now for yellow flag, green flag. Trucks, yellow flag. Hate to keep beating on them, but I thought Colleague and the Ram trucks were starting to make improvements. Their two top drivers on Friday night are Butterbean Queen, he finished P19, and Minnie Tyrell finishes 20th. Trucks, Green Flag, Hallmar Friesen Racing. Both drivers they have in Nashville run well. Stort in the 52 finishes 6th, and their second truck, the 62, being piloted by Parker Reslov, finishes P11. O'Reilly Series, Yellow Flag. Truthfully, the only driver I was slightly surprised by the low finish, and that was Cletus McFarland. Comes home with a P35 finish, but not too surprised with also his lack of seat time in that car. Green Flag O'Reilly. I know he didn't get the win, but P2 to the cruise missile, Brett Cruz. Only a matter of time, in my opinion, before he scores his first O'Reilly Series win. Yellow Flag Cup Series, Amazon Prime, and unfortunately the weather making the Cup race a very long night. More on that on Discussions with Dave. Cup Series, Green Flag, Joe Gibbs Racing. Yes, Denny gets the win, but his two Gibbs teammate finish second and third behind him, giving the organization a 1-2-3 finish. I know not what Bell or Briscoe want to hear, but a strong showing for Joe Gibbs. Now for Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Long night in Nashville, thanks to Prime. Yes, of course, Mother Nature can be unpredictable. And we saw that 2 Sunday nights ago in Charlotte for the Coke 600. We thought the race with 70 to 65 laps to go, the rain was going to fall any minute. The rain held off for about 27 to go, and that's when they called it. The race in Nashville is the second of 5 races that Amazon Prime has this year on NASCAR, just like they did last year. And I totally understand they got things figured out. Jeff Bezos going to the moon. Think they got a good grip on things. Just the late start, then the added rain delay. I was at Wall Speedway till after midnight on Saturday night. I couldn't stay up to watch that race. I was dozing off when Allmendinger was having the brake rotor failures in stage 2. And of course, I'm saying this in the opinion of a East Coast racing fan. I hope there was people on the West Coast that enjoyed that 4 o'clock start. I understand Prime is trying to promote NASCAR, and I commend them for that by giving them the prime time 7 p.m. Sunday night spot. But IndyCar raced earlier in the afternoon. You maybe could have moved up the race by a little bit, but the rain did fall pretty much right when the opening ceremony started, so could have been a tough one. But as someone that really isn't too familiar with streaming at all, could Amazon Prime, even if they wanted to, could they move up the race? I don't know how that works for Amazon Live TV. I'm not sure what they had scheduled before or after the NASCAR race. And I'm a big fan of night races. Maybe if they do it next year, with a non-holiday Sunday night, start it at 6 p.m. East Coast, the latest, I'd say. That's just my opinion. Next topic, Hamlin jumping the restart. Yes, there was the long rain delay, probably 45 minutes to an hour, I guess, before the cars do go green. And sometimes with the start of these races, I'm got my laptop out working on other parts of the podcast during the race, and I'm listening to the broadcast, and I hear them say, Denny Hamlin fires off early, and I look at it, and I'm like, he must have missed his mark or something. And it's, a mental error. And Hamlin, luckily for him, it's a long race and he has the laps to come back. I 10 out of 10 agree we won't see Hamlin make any mistake or similar mistake like this for the rest of the year. Luckily for Hamlin, the bobble comes early in the race, and just like we said, had enough time to recover. And then that would set the stage for the great Cup Series finish. An awesome battle between Hamlin's 2 other teammates, Briscoe and Bell. They as we just mentioned, finish top 3 with Denny winning in the number 1 spot. Joe Gibbs, as we know, is dominant throughout the sport and typically, historically, pretty good at, intermediate tracks, mile and a half. And just as we saw, they really flexed that Toyota muscle, finishing 1, 2, and 3. Thoughts on the Truck Series and O'Reilly race? Trucks, Honeycutt versus Riggs, the season battle going back and forth like a heavyweight fight. Riggs obviously shows out early in this one and holds his ground after dropping several starts on one of the restarts late in the race. He does have to get around Raja Carruth, who won in the trucks in Nashville the last 2 years, 24 and 25. Caden obviously has his issues with his engine late in the race, but between these two going back and forth in the point standings, competing for a championship, I think it's really going to come down to the line. Riggs definitely leading in the power rankings right now, in my opinion, with the back-to-back wins for sure. What will be Honeycutt's response? O'Reilly Series, a lot of green flag laps, tough break for Brett Cruz in the end, but this young driver, he's still only 18, is just learning and improving so quickly. And just like I have been saying, Brett Cruz is going to be winless in the O'Reilly Series, I don't think for that much longer. He's right there, and yes, a veteran in Allgaier does pick him off at the end with the laps counting down. Strongly believe that Brett Cruz is oh so close to breaking through on the O'Reilly side. But in the end, JRM, who is going to stop them from winning the championship? I mean, Corey Day, maybe if Brett Cruz really heats up. Week in, week out, just seems like a JRM driver is always showing out. And good for them. When I was just listening to my recap of what I just did in Nashville, I realized I mentioned the top 4 finishers in the Cup Series. Did not mention the guy in 5th. Sorry, Shane. Shane Van Gisbergen, how close is he getting to an oval win? SVG finished 5th in Nashville. And let's get into the nitty-gritty. Shane was 6th in Atlanta. Okay, say what you want to say, super speedway, anything can happen. Phoenix, 11th. Darlington, 14th. Martinsville, 11th. Texas, 17th. That's a hard track. Gets the win, Watkins Glen. That's a road course. What does he do the 3 weekends after? Gets better. Dover, 19th. Charlotte in the 600. Saw him towards the front. Comes home 11th. And in Nashville, he's up towards the front, competing for stage and race wins there. Shane finishes 5th. By all means, I would not be surprised if SVG wins on an oval this year. I am just not 100% sold that is going to happen this year. I really think the next step for Shane is to get some stage wins. I think that will give him confidence to battle and hold off some fellow competitors in final laps, something which he might need more experience at the Cup level. And that wraps up Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Now for Paint Scheme of the Week. For this episode, we're throwing it to the Cars Tour. I think this is truly the first time I've ever done a Paint Scheme of the Week for a late model. On the Cars Tour, this past weekend, they were running at Larry King's Langley Speedway in Virginia, and one of the cars, driver, Donovan Strauss, who runs for Nice Motorsports Super Late Model program, was doing a throwback paint scheme to Kyle Busch's NAS Energy paint scheme he ran years ago. Strauss, the 51, the orange trim, blue and black colors. This car was tough. Strauss said on his social medias, proud to bring the 51 back this weekend with this iconic blue and orange. This means everything. Kyle had a major impact on my childhood and life in general. I plan on honoring his legacy going forward in my career. Now for NASCAR history time, Nashville Fairgrounds. Yes, NASCAR just ran at Nashville Superspeedway, but stock car racing got its start in the Music City at the Nashville Fairgrounds. The King, Richard Petty, ruled the fairgrounds like royalty, stacking up a record 9 career wins at the Oval. Another legend, Dale Earnhardt, found success there, also capturing 2 wins and his first in 1980, followed by another strong performance during the 83 season. The final chapter of the NASCAR Cup Series racing at the fairgrounds came on July 14th, 1984, when Jeff Bodine put on a dominant display, leading 327 laps of 420 to take the checkered flag. The victory marked just his second of his career, but also an early milestone for team owner Rick Hendrick as it became win number 2 for his organization. And that is this episode's edition of NASCAR History Time. Now for Discussions with Dave, Part 2. More power, more brake problems. Sunday's Cracker Barrel 400 marked the Cup Series' first official race with the added horsepower, featuring lower downforce and a 750 horsepower package underneath the hood. Throughout the offseason, we talked about this change in the horsepower, and the first time we had Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the show earlier this year, asked him about it. He said in the test he didn't feel like it was that much of a difference. But as Stage 1 extended, we saw notable drivers Connor Zilisch, then Ross Chastain, have the brake issues. Shane Van Gisbergen, who was up towards the front at that point, radioed to his crew and said, "Hey, my 2 teammates had brake issues, or had issues, what's going on?" SVG's crew chief said, "Hey, don't worry about it. We have a different setup than them." I am not a mechanic and don't have that insight. I'm not sure what they were running or doing with their brakes. Nonetheless, I'm assuming it's very similar to what AJ Allmendinger had, and we see AJ wreck in Stage 2 after he wins Stage 1. So, something going on with the brakes. I'm assuming it has something to do with the increased horsepower. As we just mentioned, this was the first time that they're increasing the horsepower on the Cup Series for this year, assuming teams and maybe even NASCAR make some changes. We'll keep our ear to the ground on that one. Last topic on Discussions with Dave for this episode. We were just talking about this track on NASCAR History Time, but the Nashville Fairgrounds. You gotta bring it back into NASCAR. Yes, that track puts on fantastic shows for the Cars Tour. See them run the American 400 typically at the fairgrounds towards the end of that season. There's a great, fantastic track, and we just went over the likes of Richard Petty, Earnhardt, but another family that got their start at the fairgrounds, that was the Waltrips. Darrell Waltrip really became first well-known racing at Nashville Fairgrounds. Yes, as we just mentioned, the last time the Cup Series was there was in 84, and yes, it probably is not the facility or the track currently to hold a Cup Series race. But hey, can we start with the Truck Series and go from there? I would really like to see that. And that wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now our interview with Cup Series driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Always greatly appreciate Ricky's time. Here's what he had to say. We welcome the next guest back on the Splash of Gas, fresh off a top 5 finish in Nashville. None other ever of the 47 Chevy of the NASCAR Cup Series for JR Motorsports is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Thanks for joining again, Ricky.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Last spoke to you before the Clash this year. A lot of racing has gone down since then. Starting with the 500, exciting final laps, and that leading into an awesome finish. You're in the mix at the end, finishing second. What did you see behind the wheel at the end of the 500 this year, and how much more of a push do you think you needed to get past the 45?
Yeah, it was like you said, it was an exciting end of the 500. We had a shot at it. Felt like at one point we were leading on the final lap, and that's really all you can ask for, really. And then there at the end, it was just the seas parted. We were able to get into second there. I needed somebody to go with me down the back straightaway a little bit more than they did, and I think we'd have had a better shot at it for sure. But can't be too disappointed to start the season that way. And unfortunately, it didn't parlay into anything super good there for a while. But since the off weekend, it's been going good.
Got it. Yeah, you a little bit of a rough stretch for you guys from Atlanta to Kansas. We've talked before with Hayek being a one-car team. How do you stay focused and grind out and execute each weekend when things aren't going the smoothest?
Yeah, you just gotta realize that you have another opportunity the following week, and for us, we're always trying to continue to collect a bunch of data and try and figure out where we can be better. Even though it could be a bad weekend, we still got to learn from it and still got to figure it out. So, that's what we did. And I feel like we've learned a lot, from the start of the season, on, and we continue to learn. You can never get it completely right. So, we'll just, continue to figure that out.
Got it. Got to keep learning, just like you said. I was camping out in Bristol, and that was my first time. And man, that place is awesome. Really proves why it's called Thunder Valley. See you take one of the WWE guys and some laps in the Corvette. I mean, 500 laps around the high banks there seems like a lot. How do you handle that as a driver? And anything specific on track that you're looking for at Bristol?
Yeah, so like you said, 500 laps is a lot at Bristol. Try to keep up my workout program for that one. Your neck can get tired, or your right arm can get tired pretty quick there. But especially the green flag runs that we have, and you're just trying to make sure that your car can work the bottom of the racetrack and the top of the racetrack. It's fine if your car works either or, but if you want to get through traffic and you want to pass and run, towards the front, you got to be able to do both. And so we struggled a little bit early in the race, and then kind of found our footing there and was able to come away with a 17th place finish, I believe. But I think we got some things to work on before we get there for the night race. But still my favorite racetrack.
Yeah, remember you touching upon that earlier in the year, and just really had a blast out in Tennessee. You've been in the sport for a while at this point, but this season marks the first time you're running in the trucks. I mean, 4 races so far with Nice, 3 of them in the top 10. You'll be racing this weekend in the trucks in Michigan. What's it like running a truck and working with everyone in Nice Motorsports?
Yeah, it's fun. It's crazy that I've been in the sport as long as I have, and this year was the first year that I made a truck start. Definitely kind of crazy, but it's been fun. Daytona, Atlanta was probably I don't know. Charlotte was probably the most fun I had in the truck, and a lot of people had told me that, and they said that I'll have a ton of fun at Michigan as well. So it's been fun working with the Nice guys. I've gotten able to work with a couple different crew chiefs over there, and it's been fun. Looking forward to Michigan, and I know it's somewhat of a drafting style track for the trucks, but a little bit of a kind of mile and a half mixed in there. So should be pretty interesting. Have to fill it out. I feel like every truck race I've ran, I've kind of felt it out to begin with, and kind of see how everything reacts and feels, and then kind of go after it after that.
Gotcha. A lot of young guys at Nice, and big fan of the truck series, so appreciate you touching upon that. Getting back to the Cup side of things, P6 in the first trip of the year at Talladega, kind of a rebound race if you're looking at the finishes for you guys. I mean, how did you feel leaving Alabama at the end of this April?
Yeah, our strategy was to just kind of ride around, make sure we were there at the end of that race to have a shot to win, and we put ourselves in the right position, and a couple things could have gone differently for a better shot to win, but we were in the top three or four there late in the race, and that's really at a super speedway all you can ask for. So I liked our strategy. I like how we ran the race, and like you said, it was good to kind of get the ball rolling. We had a solid weekend at Bristol, and then carried that over to Talladega, and I feel like some of that momentum's still kind of going on right now, and so you got to take it when you can.
Got it. At Talladega, they adjusted the stage lengths. Was very kind of interested to see how that would affect the racing. I mean, as a fan, it really made the last stage super exciting. I mean, it affected the strategy, but did it, as a driver, what was your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was similar but different. We saved fuel in different parts of the race, different parts of that last stage. We did a few things different. I don't think it was, game changing for overall, but kudos to NASCAR for trying something different for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, same page on that. I was saying to you before we started recording was at the Dover Truck Race, supporting Caleb Coster, and Kyle wins that, and unfortunately the following Thursday he passes away unexpectedly. You've been a competitor against Kyle for so many years. It still doesn't feel real as a fan. What was it like racing Kyle, being around him on and off the track?
Yeah, definitely doesn't seem real for sure, but yeah, he was just a tough competitor, and you know that when you showed up to a NASCAR race, you were going to have to beat him, especially on in a truck race or in the O'Reilly races. It was I've battled with him for a long time, and when we battled a lot in the O'Reilly series, which was fun. It's a lot more fun battling for wins. Versus anywhere else in the field, but you knew you had to beat him if you wanted to win.
Got it. Appreciate you touching upon that. And pre-race ceremonies in Charlotte with Kyle's family, Kurt, his parents, very moving and emotional. And spoke to Daniel Suarez last week, and he mentioned how difficult it was to get focused in the car after that. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was tough. I thought they did a great job with that, and it was tough after that, but we got a job to do as well, and I thought everybody did a great job putting on a good race, and hopefully there'll be some more good races to come.
Yeah, got that right. And getting into the racing at Charlotte, you come out with the P12 finish. I mean, I know, I think it was like 27, 25 laps that they had to cut short. Do you think you could have gotten into the top 10 if they ran all the laps there?
Yeah, we struggled on some pit stops there. We finished every stage in the top 10, and felt like our car was even better there at the end. Was bummed that we didn't get the full distance of that race in, because I do feel like we could have been up around seventh or eighth position. But all in all, it was a good race for us, being able to start in the back and get stage points in every stage, and then have a strong finish there too.
For sure, especially with that distance. No, they're completely two different tracks, but did you think running the All-Star race at Dover a couple weeks ago on the concrete helped you prepare for Nashville this past weekend, which is also concrete?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it hurt. We had the same aero package, like you said, both on concrete. The two racetracks that are really tough to get a hold of. And so, yeah, I think it was really a good warm up, and what we struggled with at Dover, I would say we kind of struggled with at Nashville as well at the same time, and two different configurations, but definitely fighting the same issues.
Got it. Appreciate the honesty. At the end of stage two, Mike Kelly makes the call to stay out for the track position, finishing third. And exciting final laps there, and you make up a couple spots on the final lap. What more do you think you needed to compete in the mix with the Gibbs cars at the end?
Yeah, I don't know if I think we had the tire advantage, which would have been nice if we could have got clear of the 9 and 97, a lap or two earlier to see if we could, make a run at it. But, it was a solid race for us. We struggled early, worked our way up, kind of stage 2. Like you said, we stayed out, got some stage points, and, was able to get a really good finish there and gain a lot of points, at the day's end. So happy about that. And, definitely needed a good run at Nashville. We had struggled there the last couple races.
Good points day, just like you said, you do after leaving Nashville, do move up three spots in the standings. We talked about the higher horsepower when you were doing it at the testing earlier in the off season. This was the first time NASCAR ran that I believe it's a 750 horsepower package. Saw several people have the brake rotor issues. I mean, how is that like for you on track?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you add horsepower, take downforce away, we're going to be using the brakes a little bit more. But also, I think that's what creates, some better racing and more opportunities. And then, it makes for opportunities, like you said, for brake failures, which, I don't think is a bad thing. I think having to manage your car and, things like that throughout the run are, kind of what NASCAR has always been about. And, luckily my guys at JR Motorsports, they did their job, and our car was solid. We didn't have any brake issues, like some others. So, on the longer run, I was able to really, hustle our car and, get the most out of it without, kind of having to protect the brakes.
Got it. Appreciate the insight there, specifically on the brakes. Wasn't really expecting that as a fan, but definitely something to watch for, just like you said. And looking at Michigan this coming weekend, you'll be running the trucks, as you mentioned, out there. And 20th last year and 13th the year prior in 2024. How do you expect the racing to be on Sunday? I mean, just like you said, kind of a mix of a drafting track and a mile and a half out there.
Yeah, I mean, on the truck side, I'm not 100% sure what to expect. On the Cup side, I definitely have a better idea. And like you said, we've had some decent runs there. Looking forward to. I think we've learned a couple things. I think we learned some stuff at Charlotte that will help us, on the mile and a half type tracks. And Michigan can kind of be like that. So. Looking forward to getting there and getting our car on track and see where our speed stacks up once we get in practice on Saturday.
Awesome. Appreciate that insight for the trucks and the Cup out there in Michigan. And last question, we mentioned, the points bump that you had leaving Nashville and moving up 3 spots, currently sitting 23rd in the standings. Going into the summer stretch and the second half of the regular season, as a one-car team, how are you going to get the 47 into the group of 16 for the Chase this year?
Yeah, I mean, we're not really fully focused on that. We're kind of taking it a little bit at a time here.
Okay.
We, like you said, we moved up 3 spots. We've kind of had our eye on 20th position. Figured, because we fell outside the top 25 there and was closer to 30th at one point, or may have been 30th, and just kind of chipped away at it. And, we had top 25 kind of in our sights. And then, and now we're setting our eyes on, 20th place, which I think is only nine or so points away from us. So that's within reach, but we need to make sure we continue to have these good runs so that we can put ourselves in that top 20. And then we'll see where we shake out once we get to 20th. A lot of work ahead, and some tough racetracks for us. We've struggled on the road courses this year more than normal, and we got 2 of those coming up before our off week. So we really got to buckle down and focus, make sure we run some good races here at Michigan and in Pocono, and take it 1 week at a time and see where we end up before the off week.
Got it. Appreciate the honesty and the honesty with the expectations. And best of luck and safe travels out to Michigan this weekend, Ricky. And really always appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
You too.
Always great to chat with Ricky. Hope you all enjoyed that conversation. This brings us to the end of this episode, meaning time for trivia answer time. This episode's question, as we mentioned earlier, we just saw Denny Hamlin win an exciting Cup Series battle in Nashville. But who won the first time the Cup Series raced at Nashville Superspeedway in 2021? The answer is the 5 Chevy of Hendrick Motorsports, driven that time by Kyle Larson. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.